So moving away from the stability type shoes, we're going to get into what we call cushion based shoes, and they're going to have less controlling aspect to the shoe and more cushion based into it, and they're going to get lighter and lighter with the upper not being as controlling as well. And so these shoes are going to be for people who have a decent arch, their foot moves fairly well, and so we don't need as much controlling aspect, but we're going to still have some variety on how much cushion they need. And so if we look at this Asics, we see that for the most part it's got a lot of cushion, but there's still a little plastic here, and so there's still a little bit of controlling aspect, but for the most part I would say that this is a cushion shoe, and this would be a good shoe for somebody who's got a higher arch and maybe still has a little bit of ankle instability issue, because it's still got some good structure to it, and it's going to hold up well if you do have a little bit of motion issues. But you're not necessarily someone who collapses down and has pronation issues. And if we go a step further, we're going to see that this shoe doesn't have any plastic insert issues, engineering, and it has mostly just cushion. And so this foot is someone who doesn't have instability issues, but maybe they do have a decent arch and they need some cushion underneath their foot. And so that's important to consider, that if you have a high arch, your foot probably doesn't give as much. And so we want the shoe to absorb a lot of that energy, especially if you spend a lot of time on concrete, or if you're someone who would rather run on the streets than on softer surfaces. That's something definitely to consider, and that's what we see a lot, is people that have a higher arch, we want to make sure that they have a good amount of cushion under their foot. Now, if you don't necessarily have issues with impact, and you don't have as much worries as far as of control, then you get more and more into shoes that are lighter, have more mobility, and have less controlling issues built into them. And so you can see that this still has, cushion to it, this one as well, but the cushion's thinner. It doesn't have as much depth to it, and if you look at the upper, you see that there's less control to it. There's more and more towards this minimalistic characteristic. And so these are people who have very good feet, people that we don't tend to see in physical therapy that much for their feet. People who have run for years, never had any trouble with their legs, their feet, don't have any issues with them. So they can get away with more options in the shoes that don't have much controlling factor to them. And the benefit is that these shoes tend to be lighter, and they tend to allow your foot to sort of interact with the ground a little bit more, which is a good thing. We condition up the muscles in your feet more effectively, and that's part of the reason why they stay healthy.